Welcome to Sex Crimes Defense Podcast with Chance and Jay. Chance Oberstein is a defense attorney who handles sex crimes in California. I'm a media professional. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be legal advice. Chance, let's talk about Sean Diddy Combs.
Hey, let's talk about him. Does everybody know who he is?
Who is he?
Well, he's one of hip-hop's most iconic figures.
A rapper, songwriter, record producer. Movies, articles, name on clothing, I believe. Now, he has changed. It was Puff Daddy and then went to P. Diddy. I don't know anything about that.
Well, he is living the life, right?
He's got it all. He's on top of the world.
And that's what makes him one of hip-hop's most iconic figures. And his legal troubles stem, and I don't know who doesn't know he has legal troubles now, but his legal troubles stem from a sprawling federal investigation into allegations of sexual misconduct, coercion, and abuse that culminated in a high-profile trial and conviction, a recent conviction, just this month.
Right, we're in July 2025.
Right.
This is interesting. Before we get to trial, when did these problems become what they are? We've heard allegations, and there was, a year or two ago, there was things about him and his son, and I don't know, strippers on a boat. I don't know.
Well, these particular allegations began with a bombshell lawsuit in November of 2023. Believe it or not, it's already been like 2 years. And this came from his ex-girlfriend, Casey Ventura. And she alleged rape, sex trafficking, and domestic violence during their decade-long relationship. And when she filed her civil lawsuit against Diddy in November of 2023, his initial reaction was to deny the allegations, which I think from prior episodes we're aware of, that's a strategy, and characterize the lawsuit as a money grab. We're also aware of that too. His legal team stated that settling the case the very next day was not an admission of guilt, but rather a decision to avoid prolonged litigation. However, public perception shifted dramatically after hotel surveillance footage from 2016 surfaced in May of 2024, allegedly showing Combs physically assaulting Ventura. And following the release of that video, Combs issued a public apology, calling his behavior inexcusable and saying he was disgusted by his own actions. And I believe this marked a turning point in the case, leading to federal charges and a criminal trial. While Combs was ultimately convicted of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, he was acquitted of sex trafficking and racketeering charges. His legal team reportedly viewed the split verdict as a partial victory.
So, okay, that's what's in. So, as just a person of the public, I run into questions already, several questions. One is that, and by the way, I think her name is Cassie, just for the record.
Yeah. I'm
Cassie.
Sorry, Cassie.
No, you're good.
That's right.
Someone's going to say, well, they said Casey. All right, Cassie. All right, so we go to the May 2024 hotel video surveillance footage where he's beating her. And I think everybody can agree that he looks like he's kicking her and beating her. Right. I thought that was what this trial... I thought that's kind of part of what it was about. When we get to racketeering and conspiracy and all that stuff, I didn't know we were doing that. But is that why it's federal?
Yeah, that's part of it, because it came in when it came in when the settlement, I think, broke down initially. The thing is that I'm pretty sure that there was a give and take, an ebb and flow of the civil settlement negotiations. And I think that they probably came to a halt, or they were just about to drop, the bottom was going to drop out. And all of a sudden, this hotel surveillance footage from 2016 surfaced, and the settlement was on, and it was settled quickly. Okay. But though the suit was settled quickly after that, it led to federal charges and a criminal trial. Okay. And that's, this is, and the federal investigation uncovered disturbing patterns of behavior, including orchestrated freak-off parties and, things like that.
Okay, Okay, I'm glad you said that because again, baby oil and freak offs and sexual assault. Also, is that in racketeering and conspiracy? Where is that at?
Well, that those are just pieces of evidence, in a, to sew together a pattern of conduct. It's several things that not several, but a lot of things that the prosecution brought in. I mean, let's talk about the trial for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, he actually was arrested in September of 2024 and charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution. That's because, this little deal with the civil lawsuit, flowered into this federal investigation. So the trial begins in 2025, May of 2025, and it lasts nearly 2 months, featuring graphic testimony from multiple women, including Cassie, I hope I pronounced that right, who described being manipulated and abused.
Okay.
Prosecutors, to your point, and this is the
Yeah.
interesting
Where's
thing.
the sexual assault? I don't get it.
Well, prosecutors presented evidence of over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant found during the raids. Surveillance footage of physical assault, claims of drug-fueled sexual performances, and so forth found. So there was a lot of stuff that was uncovered during these
I know,
investigative raids.
I feel I'm telling you, I want to go over to the state attorney or whatever and say, listen, how did you Marcy this football? Why didn't you go for sexual assault?
Well, one is it jumped over the state because it involved multiple states, and so it was a federal prosecution. And
Fine.
so,
Sexual assault, though, isn't that the center? Domestic violence and sexual assault, isn't that what's most obvious?
well,
Why go for the Matt Gaetz sex trafficking? It didn't work on Matt Gaetz.
Well, probably, I think that it was probably overly charged.
It was.
There were these
They made a mistake.
These two reactions. One, his initial reaction, which got the ball rolling down the hill, and the prosecution's reaction, which was overzealous.
They got overzealous. They did.
Got us to the verdict.
I'm irritated because there's so many people that get double what they deserve. And then here's this, and they totally screwed it up. I can't believe they went for sex trafficking. As far as I can tell, freak offs and all that, you are reaching with sex trafficking. Am I wrong?
Well, no, not necessarily.
Not.
And the jury didn't think so either. I mean, the verdict, which just occurred a few days ago on July 2nd, the jury found Diddy guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution.
Okay.
But acquitted him of the sex trafficking.
Which again isn't transportation of. He's driving a van for strippers. I mean, what is going on? Seriously, I don't understand the charges. It makes no sense to me. I'm a layperson and I don't understand it.
Well, understand
it would be like going after OJ for stealing.
Yeah,
that happened later, but you know what I'm saying?
It seems pretty petty. I mean, but understand
this makes no sense.
It's something that's easier to convict a person on, and we'll get into why a jury might have done something like that, in just a moment. But let's put it this way:
okay.
He now faces a maximum of 20 years in prison. Which
he's not going to get that.
Well,
he's not. He's got the counsel.
You know what? Maybe and maybe not.
No, I'm telling you, he's not. No, he's not.
But I make no judgment on that.
I do.
Yeah. But here's the thing. He's still sitting in custody. He was denied bail. He remains incarcerated. So he still faces dozens of lawsuits, and the fallout has deeply impacted his career and public image.
Right.
So, this is really, really tough. Really, really tough. And something we spoke about prior, in prior episodes of how these things can spin out of control.
I want to say this too. I don't want to sound like I want him convicted, but what I am, because I don't. I mean, I don't care. But what I am saying is though, I'm sick and tired of charges not matching what happened. And once again, these charges don't match. To me, they don't match what happened. Cassie's got to be thinking, Where's the charges where he kicked me all over the hotel? Can't you charge him with that?
Well, it's a federal prosecution.
Who
It's not a
cares?
state prosecution. But here's the thing.
But that's the thing. What about
yeah. Well, what I'm saying is her testimony was really an emotional plea to do something to him.
There
anything
you go.
to him. Because I don't think on the federal level they could do, that her specific allegations, as to how she got to, her settlement and everything were viable on the federal level because they were taken care of at the state.
Okay, and once again, we find how laws, by the time they reach written law, don't match the sense that originally was meant.
Well,
that makes no sense to me. That he can. Who cares what level it's at?
I know that.
Yeah, okay.
But for our purposes, let's take a look at how this thing spun out of control.
I'm talking as a podcast purpose, right?
Yeah.
Because this is Sex Crimes Defense Podcast with Chance and Jay, where we keep it real. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna ask you to come back for part 2 of our talk about Sean Diddy Combs, where we go into what's in the next episode, Chance.
Well, the legal strategy and how this thing spun out of control. And then we could start to talk about how Cassie affected or impacted this thing.
All right, join us for that. We'll see you on the next one.